Verzeo, your one-stop solution to everything learned.
Hello everyone, a very good evening. This is Ajay Villa here, and I'm really happy to welcome you all for today's session. Before we start session, just quick check for the chat that you guys can hear me properly and you guys can see me. You can reply back in the chat. Okay, great that you can hear me and you can see me. And yep, again, welcome you all. Welcome to V Community and welcome to Verzeo Premium webinar. As you guys have already figured it out and already have received uh, the agenda for today's session, the webinar topic. Today's webinar gonna be on answering behavioral and HR and situational interview questions, which might be definitely useful for you to plan accordingly for your upcoming interviews that has been lined up. And I believe that you have known who gonna be your speaker for today's session as well, right? And let me introduce our speaker for today. It's Nidhi Sharma, was your premium webinar mentor, and I believe you had already visited our previous webinar that had been already taken by Nidhi Sharma. Uh, she is currently working in Adobe as software development engineering too, and had worked in several other tech giants. Pretty good experience that she has to guide you in terms of interview related things, or else what exactly that you are planning for your future. Utilize this session. I won't take much time of yours, and stay tuned. And we will be having our interesting Q&A session at the end for 10-15 minutes. Whatever the questions that you have, line it up, note it down, and get it shooted out in the chat. And we would be definitely eager to answer those questions. That's all from my end. I would be handing it over to Nidhi. Nidhi, all yours. You can proceed further.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much, Ajay, first of all, for inviting me here. Super excited to be with you all and to be sharing my learnings and experiences, my tips and tricks around handling such, this round, which is about answering HR, behavioral, and situational interview questions. So, I welcome you all, and let's get started. So the agenda of today's webinar is going to be somewhat like what you can see on your screen right now. So first of all, we will be discussing a bit about the last webinar's topic, which was how to build an effective resume. So as we discussed previously, some tips and tricks around it. So we'll be kind of revising it. Then we will be starting with today's agenda. So which will be we will get to know more about the interview, what it actually means, and what are the expectations from the interviewer side for the interviewee, as well as we will talk a bit about behavioral interview questions. What are they actually, and what are they commonly asked behavioral questions? And thereafter, we will discuss a bit about HR interview questions, how to handle them, and what are the kind of questions that they ask, what is the expectation, and what are the parameters that you will be evaluated on. So let's start. Yeah. So talking about the recap, in the last webinar that was about building a job winning resume, we discussed about the resume, that it is a short and formal document which is sent to the recruiter before you actually reach to the interview site, and it actually decides whether you will land a particular role or a job or not. And we discussed about various effective tricks which will help you create an effective resume. action and the result that you need to, kind of incorporate while creating your resume. And then we talked about how can you search for a job. We discussed about various resume building platforms as well, and various job finding or job hunting websites like Naukri.com and LinkedIn. And also we discussed about the importance of networking, how networking, making connection with the experienced people or the employees of a particular company that you're targeting can help you land a job. So if you haven't checked that webinar already, I would recommend you to go check it out. Moving ahead, let's get started with today's session, which is first of all, there is this keyword interview. So what is the expectation that is set from employer side or the recruiter side for you? So an interview is basically a two-way exchange. It is a kind of a conversation like any other normal conversation that we have normally as well. Like you talk with your friend, like you talk with any of your relatives or your teacher for that matter. It's a normal two-way conversation, except for the fact that it is a well defined conversation. It has an objective wherein the employer is searching for the best candidate to select for that particular role for their company, who can help them achieve a particular business goal, as well as that is within the stipulated time. So a particular time is devoted to it, say for example 45 minutes or 1 hour, depending upon the company's a normal trend that they keep the interview session for. And depending upon the role that you're selecting, for example for the experienced role or for the level 2, level 3, or maybe level 4 roles, it may be a bit longer than the freshers role. The time is something which is already well defined. Also, the expectation from the interviewee is to showcase all the skill set which matches the job description, and the interviewer is expected to show how well he will be fitting into that particular working environment, and how he or she is a best choice for that particular role. Whereas employer is just searching for the best candidate. Since hiring is expensive, so they want to hire somebody who is kind of a long-term investment for the company and for that particular role. So this is basically the objectives of both the recruiter and interviewer, and this is a formal conversation. Now moving ahead with what's a behavioral interview question. So as the name itself suggests, that it is basically to test or to judge what kind of behavior do you possess, what kind of person you are, and how you would react under high pressure. And it also tests your soft skills as well, and they want to know that you you are already these are generally the last round which are conducted in any company or in any process. So they've already tested you for your tech skills. So they will now be judging how well will you fit into that professional environment, whether you are a team player or not, if you will be able to adjust into that or describe for me this particular thing, or give me an example, or tell me a scenario of that particular time. So these are certain questions which come under the behavioral interview category. And the important focus here is to analyze you on the basis of certain parameters that they already have listed in their sheet. So which can be anything, be it how flexible you are in your approach, how open minded you are, or how confident you are while communicating your ideas, how empathetic you are while discussing a particular topic, or it can be how kind you are to your peers while working on any project. It might be that you might be know it all in the team, and you might be knowing better than any other person in the team, but after all you have to work with the team. So it's very important that you are empathetic and you are kind, so they will be judging your answer on these particular criterias. So make sure that you clearly highlight such soft skills through your answer. You will instead of just saying that I am a confident person, try to narrate or frame that story in such a way that it clearly shows that you were confident while dealing a particular situation or while working under high pressure situations. So we will learn about how to answer these, and I will be giving you an example of how to handle such situations. So sure. Sure. Is it any better now? I hope I'm audible. Yeah. Any better now? Am I audible? Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Let's proceed then. I think, Nidhi, you have to just quickly for a minute to brush them up on the previous slide, so that if they have missed
Sure.
out few things, they can catch up on that.
Definitely. So let's get started again. So in this slide, we'll be discussing a bit about the interview. What is the expectation of recruiter out of the applicant, and what are they actually looking
Proceed
for
then. I
in
think,
an applicant? They will try
Nidhi,
to
you have
find
to
out that,
just quickly
and
for a
stuff
second
like this.
to
So an
brush
interview
them up
is
on the
basically
previous
a
slide,
two-way
so that
exchange,
things
conversation
they can.
wherein there are very clearly defined objectives of the employer and applicant both. It's just a similar conversation that you have with your day-to-day conversation you might have with your relatives, your school college teachers, or your peers. So similar conversation, just the fact that the agenda is very well clear, that the candidates are looking for the job offer and the employer wants to hire the best talent out of the pool. So this is what the objectives of both are. So since you must be knowing that the hiring process is a very expensive process for the company, so they want to invest in the right talent as well as they want to invest for the long term. They do not want somebody who keeps on changing the job and accepts a job offer and next day says that I am rejecting or turning down the offer, not even after 1 month or so. So they want a long term investment, so they want to also see how committed you will be to doing that particular job if you are offered one. So this is what actually the employer's objective looks like. Whereas if we talk about the applicant's objective, so the objective of applicant would be to stand out of that particular crowd, which is basically applying for the similar role. So in doing so, they will be trying to, outline some of the important aspects of their personality, their technical background or their academic background, as well as their work experience. So it's very important that you clearly highlight that that skill set which matches with the job description if you want to have that job offer. Just checking again. I hope I am audible. So moving ahead, let's discuss a bit about the behavioral interview questions. So as the name itself suggests, we can deduce from the name that it is based on your behavior. So they are kind of trying to judge what kind of behavior do you exhibit while working in the under high pressure situations, and as well as in the professional environment, how empathetic you are towards your peer, or whether you are a team player or not. Also, they will be judging you on different parameters, including some of the soft skills like confidence, communication skills, and other factors. So these questions generally are open-ended questions. So there is no single ideal right answer, I would say, to such questions. Everyone's story is different. Every person is a different human being, and so are the answers and the stories that they frame to answer these questions. So behavioral interview questions generally start with tell me something, about the time when you faced this, or give me an example from your previous experience where you have to exhibit such quality, and how did you handle it, or describe for me a certain example from your past experience where you were supposed to be creative, and how you handle that project, or things like that. So it will basically ask you to narrate an example from your previous experience, and a previous experience maybe of your work life, or those who are freshers from their previous experience of working on project, any project, college or school project for that matter. So these are open-ended questions, but very clearly they need to highlight some of the soft skills, or I would say the skill set that you own. First of them would be self-awareness, or I would say that you are very well aware of the role. You are confident in communicating your ideas to the other people, how kind you are to the team, or the people that you will be working with. Say, for example, you might be the senior most people in the team who might be knowing it all beforehand only because you have that vast experience in the field. In that scenarios, you need to be kind, to the people. So they will be looking for somebody who are kind and empathetic to their peers, and they can work in the professional environments and fast moving environment very easily. It's not difficult for them, or they will be looking actually for somebody who is a team player, not an individual person who want to just do projects individually. Because when you step into the corporate world, you will be dealing with very large scale projects, and they will be a team will be dedicated to handle those projects. You will not be doing any small project or work that you might have done in your college time, that you might have handled single handedly. Now you will be working in a team, so it's very important aspect that you communicate your ideas well, and you are a team player, as well as you are confident. You are not afraid to put your points forth if you are confident about that. So things like that. So whenever you will be answering or narrating your stories, make sure that you highlight these traits explicitly. Also, I would suggest one thing, that certain candidates, what they do, they say, I am a team player, I am a leader, I am confident, I am this and that. So instead of just using these keywords, I would say do not use these keywords, and instead of using directly that I am a leader and I am a communicator, effective communicator, or I am a confident person, you can say that while attitude is what matters a lot during answering the behavioral interview questions. So try to be exhibit positive attitude, as well as try to show confidence while narrating your past experiences, and try to keep the tone of your answers positive, instead of saying negative, instead of setting the negative tone. For example, I would just like I am I am not interested in doing this thing. Instead of just saying this, you can say that it is not my area. I would be more interested in doing this, and try to eliminate words while answering the behavioral interview questions. Moving ahead, the behavioral interview questions focus on certain areas of evaluation, and this is a list of those areas or skills that you will be judged on. So, as I already mentioned, that they will be looking for somebody who is a team player. After all, you will be working with maybe a large team or cross team collaborations you might have to do. So it's very important that your behavior towards other people or towards collaboration is good, and you exhibit an open mindset while working with people. So team player attitude is a must have. Then you will, as I already mentioned, that these rounds will be somewhat like the last interview round. So you will already be judged upon your technical hard skills. So don't worry about that. They'll not be doing in front of you puzzles or questions to actually judge you on, but they will make sure that they ask you certain relevant questions wherein you will be narrating your past experiences to show where you exhibited problem solving skills as well. Also, in every role, certain initiative and leadership is required. So do not just say that I do or I complete the tasks which are asked, to me to complete. Instead, say that I complete those tasks within, or I deliver certain products or tasks within deadlines, as well as I am very eager to take the initiative, think about the loopholes or the bottlenecks in the product, and take initiative to bring forth a solution approach to solving those problems as well. So you can narrate your story in such a way that shows that you've taken initiatives beforehand or before as well. Also, your interpersonal skills and growth mindset is something that they will be looking for. After all, in this ever evolving technological world, the technology is evolving each day, and you will have to learn a new skill set every I would say in every project or every day. So it's not like somebody will be saying that I am a Java developer, so I will be just sticking to that. No. While narrating your story, you can just say that I have worked on certain, a wide range of, technical, skills, or I have worked on different projects. I try to learn different things. So it will sort of show the, interviewer or the recruiter that you have an open mindset or growth mindset, and you are eager to learn as well. Also, you need to very clearly mention the high pressure situations that you previously worked under, and how well you managed. So this is an important factor, because generally in corporate life, what happens is all the projects that you handle and that you work upon have a strict deadline, and they need to be delivered within that deadline, because revenue and the customers and the users are associated with it. So it's very important that you can work under high pressure situations, and so narrate a story in such a way that highlight all of these things. And also, do not worry about the fact whether you are a fresher or an experienced person, because a fresher might not have certain past experience of working in corporate life, which is fine. In case you do not have any such experience, I would recommend you to share any of the experience that you might have of the internships. If not, then any hackathon that you might have participated. And if not that, then any of the college projects that we happen to have done in our final or pre-final year for the college purposes. You can always narrate those, because they happen to be done in groups as well. So there also you might be the team leader, or you might have collaborated and worked with a team. So that is something that I would recommend for the freshers. Now, moving ahead, let's discuss a bit about commonly asked behavioral questions and an example of how to handle these. So as I already mentioned, that behavioral questions test your behavior and how well you work in the pressure situations and in the professional environment, right? So these generally start with describe a time, or tell me about a time or your previous past experience or any of your story that is associated with your past experience. So the questions like describe a time when you disagreed with a team member and how you resolve it. So things like that. First of all, the key point before answering to these questions that you need to keep in mind is the fact that do not badmouth anybody that you have worked previously. For that matter, just try to, emphasize more on what you did, what your task was, and what all things that you have learned previously while working with the team or while working on that particular project, and as well as always emphasize your learnings and improvements that you had while working on that particular project. Say, for example, while answering this question that when you had a disagreement with your team member, how did you resolve? You can say somewhat like, I know that communication is the key, and while working with the team, we might have certain conflicts, which doesn't have to be personal ones. They can be professional. We had different approaches to solving a particular problem, but I believed and I did a thorough research on that particular topic and considered the other approach that the other team member was saying. And after considering both the approaches and doing my thorough research, I came to the conclusion that my approach was better than my peers' approach. So I, conducted a one-on-one session with that teammate, and I tried to explain the facts which caused me to end up with that conclusion that my approach is better, and I ended up resolving this problem by making him agree, or coming to the middle grounds, or by showing or convincing that other person with my approach, things like that, which shows that you are you are comfortable changing your approach if that is not correct, and if that approach is right, you are ready to do a thorough research, and present those facts and figures. You talk numbers, you talk logic, you do not take that personally on your ego. After all, in the professional work life, your ego should not talk, you should talk, and your logic should talk, and that is what is valued there. So things like that, these things should exhibit that you are ready to accept the fact that the other person is correct, and accept it, and move ahead with that. The second question that we have is, tell me a bit about the time when you made mistake at work. So this can be quite a bit tricky question. Reason being, nobody wants to highlight, the blunders or any mistakes that they made at work. Of course, why would they want to highlight? If ask this question, you or rate possible. Try to be, every human being, we know that we make mistakes initially and then we learn from that. So this is what is more important, that we learn and do not repeat those mistakes ever again. So this is exactly what you need to show while answering this question. So you can say somewhat like, I made this mistake and I took the accountability of this mistake. I understood, or I analyzed that this mistake is done. I went to my peers or my boss to discuss about it, and I also tried to mitigate the effects that it had, or I corrected my mistake. I had the following learnings from doing that mistake, and I am committed to never repeating it ever again. And these are these are my improvements. So focus on the area of, or the areas of improvements that you had after doing that mistake, and after learning from that mistake, I would say. Do not be modest while answering those questions and just thinking, taking it for granted that the employer would by himself figure out that this person will not be repeating this mistake, or these are the learnings that he could have taken while after making this mistake. Instead, very clearly highlight the improvements that you might have made after making that particular mistake, and just show your commitment to never repeating those mistakes at work ever again. So this will show that you are first of all accountable and you own your mistake. Secondly, this will also show clearly that you are eager to correct that, and you are eager to learn different things that you do not already know. And thirdly, it will also show that you are committed to not repeating those mistakes and you have improved thereafter. So things like that. Certain other questions that you can say, that how did you accomplish tasks under high and strict deadline? So you can say that I happen to make the divide the task into subtasks and set a deadline for myself, and this is how I happen to meet the deadline and ensuring 100% quality as well as customer satisfaction. So these are the things that you can use while answering these questions. So as I already mentioned, make sure that you use a positive tone while answering these questions. Moving ahead, so the best way I can recommend you is to apply the STAR method while answering these behavioral questions. So let's understand a bit about what the STAR method says and how can you actually apply the STAR method in answering your behavioral questions. So stands for the situation, T stands for task, A stands for action, and R stands for results. So situation is basically, this would describe where and when actually that event happened. Say for example, you can say that I was made to do such things, or you can just take a small. So for freshers, let me take an example. So in our colleges, cultural fests happen. So there is this sponsorship team. Say for example, you were a part of that sponsorship team, and you are narrating that experience, applying the STAR method there. So the situation here, you can say that I was the part of the sponsorship team, and our task was to find the title sponsors as well as the partners for our college cultural fest. And so this would be the situation for you. The T for task here, so describe the task that you had. So you can say that I was the sponsorship team lead, and my task was to find the right sponsors, which were adding the value to the task and were ready to sponsor college project. The cultural fest. So this was your task, that you were the sponsorship team's lead. Action that you took while completing those forementioned tasks that you mentioned in tasks. So the action that you took is basically you talked to a lot of people who were in the sponsorship team. You talked to your seniors, you talked to people or your friends from different colleges and try to understand what they do, how do they actually bring in the sponsorship for the fest. And then after doing the thorough research, you made a list of prospect sponsors that can be there for your cultural fest. You conducted one-on-one sessions with those prospect sponsors. You prioritized list of actions that you had and distributed them amongst your team to achieve the intended goal. So this is the action that you took. After that, finally you will be narrating a bit about the results that you achieved after doing all those things. For that particular, after taking those actions, what are the results that you achieved? So you will be saying that we conducted the cultural fest at a very large scale, and we successfully completed it. We found our title sponsors, and not even one. We found the 2 title sponsors as well as the other partner sponsors for sponsoring the required or set number or XYZ amount that we had in mind. And we kind of overachieved, our expectations of the crowd gathering that we had on the cultural fest, and it was secure and successfully conducted at our place. And it was, the biggest fest that we ever had in our college premises, and we succeeded in doing so because of our commitment and hard work. Earlier, it appeared to be a little challenging, but due to our hard work and well planned, approach and implementation of that, we were able to achieve these results. So clearly highlight using the matrix that you achieved this number, and this was the result of your commitment and hard work. So things like that. So in the results, again, I would say do not be modest. Instead, try to be explicit using the matrix. Matrix means that you highlight that work quality of code and all the promise uh, client we of the client, the product or the project stipulated deadlines. So these are the matrix that you can use to narrate your results, and make sure to emphasize on the results and the skills that you exhibited while doing the entire task. So this presentation and results in order to come up with the best story to answer that behavioral question. Now, moving ahead, how do you accomplish tasks when under a strict or tight deadline? So, I have narrated here a small example, another example. This is for the certain, those who are a bit experienced professionals and who do have a slight, experience working in the industry. So, the previous example that I gave of the sponsorship team, that was basically dedicated to the freshers who do not have any experience. So, how they can narrate their small experience, I won't actually say small, but how they can narrate their college projects on and their contribution to fests and hackathons in a better way. So that was that. In this example, we will be discussing a bit about how you can put forth your experience or your corporate experience to narrate your work to your potential employer. So this is a situation wherein there was this person who was handling one project, but his colleague happened to have a certain emergency at work, and due to which he had to go. So this person A had to handle his project as well as the project of his colleague B. So this is the situation, right? So we will learn how to divide the situation into four parts that we learned in the previous slide, the star method, situation, task, action, and results. So let's discuss it. First of all, the situation that he said that I was handling leave for some time, or he had to take some time off, and I had to handle that particular project. So you clearly describe the situation that it was something that you were overburdened with work, and it was due to some emergency, not something which was planned beforehand only. But how you handled and what was your task that was given to you will come in the next task and action, next narrations. So the task that you were given for that particular project. So after that person B or manager B left, now you were the one who had to handle two projects, right? So you can say somewhat like I was the manager of project X as well as the project Y, which was initially being handled by person B, right? And I suddenly had two projects. I was not very sure. I was not I will be able to take care of both the projects and handle both the projects. So you clearly outline that role. The role was managing both the projects and what you were feeling at that particular time. Right? Now next comes action. So now there is this type of situation, the kind of hard, strict deadline project had, and you could leave any project X or project Y. So you had to handle both. So you describe that in situation, then you describe your task, then comes action. So what actions you actually took in order to, successfully execute both the projects and to make sure that the company or the business being compromised because of that emergency. So you can say that I happen to have, conducted one yours and with my manager, and I them my daily goals. I tried to ask for more resources, or they were not able to do it, so I tried to work more. I tried to prioritize my tasks, and depending upon the priority of tasks, I made sure that I conduct brainstorm sessions among the team, remove any of the blockers as soon as possible in order to unblock people and give make you best use of their bandwidths. I conducted one-on-ones or check-ins with the clients so that I can understand their expectations and the expectations, their expectations for my new project which was not being handled. And so to get the insights what you did, and you did efforts and try to make that the team is working well, and you are making the best use of bandwidth of every person. So this is the action that, so you clearly mentioned that you were eager to deliver the product within deadlines, as well as making sure that the client's expectations are met, and as well as making sure that the quality of product does not degrade. So this is the action that you took. And finally, what are the results or the outcomes that you achieved after taking such action? So you can start by saying thank you to my team and my management and leadership that we were able to finish that product within this, the set deadlines, and ensuring the quality and the expectations of the client, as well as we made sure that we deliver the promised product to the client. Okay, we also we made sure that we conduct the reviews as well with the client to know whether they were satisfied or not. And when my colleague, the person who left, manager A left, when he came back, I made sure that I did a thorough introspection whether everything went well and things like that. And you need to clearly mention at the end that what were your accomplishments after working such consistent hard work. So you can also say, if happened, you can also say that I was promoted after my this stellar performance. You can also say that I got this XYZ award based on my performance or my team's performance. Also, I got appreciation from the client side. So do not try to diminish, or do not try to completely eliminate such things, thinking that these are small things. In your result, clearly mention whatever accomplishments you had, even if that is just an appreciation from the client. This is not just appreciation, this is a big thing, because a happy customer, after all, is any company's or any person's responsibility. And this is what we are working in the corporate world. We are working on very high scale products, and $1 million are being invested there and things like that. So what is the end goal? What is something that we want to achieve? That is the happy customer. So this is not a small thing. So do mention clearly in your results that I was appreciated by the client or my manager and whatever accomplishments you had. So this is how you can divide any of your story into 4 parts, which is STAR: situations, task, action, and results, to better answer these behavioral questions. Now, moving ahead, let's discuss a bit about the HR questions. So these are a bit different from the behavioral interview question, where in the behavioral interview question, the focus was more on knowing you and your behavior and how you behave under high pressure situations and in the professional background, so professional environment. Whereas in the HR questions, it would be more on highlighting or finding out or getting more clarity on your application and your resume. So it might be that the companies beforehand only happen to ask or send out an application form to be filled by the interviewee, so that they can know a bit more about the interviewee, about their academic background, as well as their past work experience, how relevant that would be with respect to the job description that they have rolled out. So that would be this HR interview question. The main focus would be to get more clarity on your applications or resume. If they find that there are certain gaps, they want to know the reason of that gap. It can be any interview, it can be any years of experience. Say you might have taken certain break, in your career, so they might want to know or get more clarity on that. Why did you take that break and what did you do during that time? Things like that. And also they would want to judge you on your commitment and interest to that particular role. So as I already said, that hiring is a very expensive, task or a process for any particular company, be it startup or a well-established company. So the thing is, basically, they would want to know how interested you are for that particular role, how committed you will be if you are given that particular job offer. So they will want to know more about that, and they cannot clearly, they cannot just directly ask you such questions. Instead, what they will do, they will try to frame those questions in such a way that you are asked, clearly about your, questions like which will tell them or give them more insights about what is actually making you switch, your current role or current job, or if you're applying for that particular role, are you committed to it, and things like that. Apart from that, this HR interview question also will be judging you a bit on your soft skills, how well you communicate your ideas, how well you communicate your point to the HR, how confident you are, and how kind of positive, positive vibes you bring to the company and team, things like that. Okay, so let's discuss a bit about the frequently asked HR questions during the interviews. So some of them I have listed here. There can be some others as well. So I try to list down the most frequently asked questions and that I found were generally asked. So one of them is, why did you decide to apply for this role? Or it can be, what did you like the most about job description? Why are you leaving your current job? Things like that. So they can be positive as well as negative question. Negative in the sense, I would say, just like the third question that I mentioned, why are you leaving your current job? So in case there is something that there is a bad experience that you had in your current job, or you do not like the boss, or things like that, so you would never want to highlight those things. So I mean, asking these questions upfront would give more clarity to HR, because he or she wants to know a bit more about your reason of leaving the current job, right? But at the very same time, you need to keep in mind that whatever is the story, or maybe a strong reason behind you leaving the company, you try to be honest, but at the very same time, try to be a bit more, try to set a positive tone while answering this question, as I said, because do not try to badmouth anybody. If you are bad mouthing and if you are saying negative things about your previous employer, then your potential employer might be a bit, skeptical about the situation, and it might be a red flag for, in your smooth hiring process. So do not try to, be a blocker for yourself by answering negatively about any of the questions. So, a key point that you need to remember is, do not criticize any of your previous employers or team members while answering any of the HR or behavioral questions. Having said that, you can say somewhat like my learnings. I am a team player and I am a learner. So you can say somewhat like, I did not find any learning opportunity there, and I am looking for learning more, or I am interested in this technology, and this is exactly what is being offered here. So I am very keenly interested in this role. I did a thorough research of this role and about this company, and it matches my vision. Company's vision matches with my goals, and this role matches with my interests. That which tells that you are committed to stay in the company for a longer period of time, and try to give that impression to the HR that you will be a long-term investment if you are offered this role in the company. Okay. And also, if there are certain career gaps that you had in your resume, be very transparent and honest while answering this question, we all know that we have certain, personal commitments and certain difficulties in life, and due to which we might have to take breaks. And in this time, I think most of the companies are very acceptable to taking breaks for maybe your mental health, and maybe of because of some personal responsibility that you might have, or maybe taking care of your kids, or anything for that matter. So being vulnerable will not set any negative impression of you on the HR. So be vulnerable, be very honest, at the very same time try to exhibit your interest for that particular role, and try to exhibit the fact that you are very committed to doing your job in the best way possible. Moving ahead, let's discuss a bit, or maybe an example of how you can handle this slightly negative or slightly upfront question, as I discussed. Why are you leaving your current job? So how you can actually points to approach this question, or how you can frame your answer based on these pointers that I have mentioned here. So first of all, start answering by appreciating whatever you have currently, be it your job, be it your teammates, be it the role that you are playing in the company. So appreciate that first of all. Secondly, describe your journey to this interview. How, I mean, how started in this industry, maybe software industry or any. So start describing your journey, and try to make sure that you include your interest of work. Also, you can mention that there are certain roadblocks that you have in your current company. Do not just say that I do not like working there anymore, my boss keeps bad behaving with me, or things like that. Instead, you just say that I feel like my learning span there has completed, and I do not have any opportunity to learn and grow myself, and I am finding something which can challenge me more, which can help me develop as a person as well. So I am looking for something, and this role that I am interviewing for, I know will be providing me some similar opportunities, and I'm committed to working here in the best way possible, and things like that. So basically try to link those two things, that why are you what's a kind of pain point for you in the current job, and what you found in this job description that you are actually interviewing for, things like that. So this will help the HR to actually clearly analyze that you are committed, and you will be a long-term investment for the company. So that's pretty much it from my side. I think you learned a bit about how you can answer and you can excel well and stand out from the crowd by keeping these points in mind. And thank you very much. And I wish you all the very best. And now the floor is open for any and all the questions that you might have.
Okay, great, Nidhi. I believe audience have noted down many of the things that have been explained, and I can see few of the things in the chat regarding the audio. There might be bit distortion, guys. Don't worry, right? Because once the video is again uploaded in the YouTube, right? So the audio pool will be uplifted, and wherever the distortion might be there, right? So that will be chopped out from the video. So no worries on that. And coming back to the Q&A session, maybe there are a few interesting questions that had been added. So initial one that I would like to go with, the initial start in an interview, right? Let's say when an interviewer asks, tell me about yourself. So what thing that whoever is giving an interview to start with, or else what should be the mode that the person had to keep in his mind and start pitching about himself, because that is the first impression that he or she is giving, right?
Sure. I mean, such a wonderful question, first of all. Tell me a bit about yourself is basically a question which is asked with an intention not to know what is already mentioned on the resume, first of all. So do not reiterate by saying that, as you know, as I already mentioned in the resume, that I have done my BTech from this college. I am currently working as SD in this company and things like that, because the recruiter or the interviewer already has your resume in hand. So do not repeat the things which are already mentioned on the resume. This is the point number one. Point number two would be to make sure to they already know your name and things like that. So start keep this in mind that you are not there to tell them what you have done previously. Instead you will be using what you have done previously, those examples to demonstrate that you are the best fit for this particular role. So make sure that before going to the interview you read the job description well, and you understand what they are hiring for, and then try to use your past experience to fit in that particular job description and then narrate that story. Say for example, the job description says that they are searching for somebody who is a good communicator, who is good at leadership roles, and who is good at Java. These three things: communication, leadership, and Java. These are the key points which are mentioned in the job description. Now you have all the three qualities. So what you can say in this answer, you can say that previously I have worked on multiple projects. One of them was requiring my skill of Java. So and I led that team, and this was the problem statement that I had. And finally, when I pitched my idea and my product to the entire team, they were super happy, and we won this prize and that prize and things like that. So basically you exhibited that you led that team, so leadership is there. You did the project in Java, so Java was there. And you need to find the key points and try to answer that particular thing.
Okay, great answer, Devi. And along with that, just a follow-up question. Along with the question that starts with that says, "Tell me about yourself." Right. The next
Right.
would be, "Are you fit for this particular role?" Right. So when that particular question comes from an HR, without being fumbled during that time, or else what exactly should be uh, the person who is taking an interview should tell or else should portray.
Right. So, are you fit for this particular role is something very subjective. First of all, there can be two scenarios. One is that you already have you meet all the eligibility criteria. Say they are asking for 3 plus years of experience, and you have 4 years of experience, and you meet majority of the eligibility criteria. So you are playing safe, right? You are applying for that job, and if you kind of pass the technical round, so there are very high chances for you to being hired. So this is a very happy scenario. In case there are certain things, so you can just say that I meet all the eligibility criteria, and I have very strong the technical skills which were required for this particular role. You can highlight all of the skill set that you had and that you exhibited, and why you will be most favorable person for this particular role. So you can highlight those skills because you meet the eligibility and the required and desired fields. But there is second scenario or second case wherein you might not meet certain or majority, I would say, criteria of hiring. Say they are asking for 3 years of or 3 plus years of experience. You have 2 years of experience. So in that case, what would work the best would be your desire to learn more, and your commitment to work well and work beyond any set barriers. You should be desired enough that I understand. You can answer somewhat like, I understand that I do not have any prior experience of product management, say for example, but I have done certain mini projects wherein I led and kind of handled a team of people. It was not on the large scale, but I made sure that I do the cross team collaboration well and deliver the products within time and this and that. So it might not be some some corporate or industry experience, but it was a relevant experience from past. So make sure that you read about the role, and you bring you collect your memory and you collect your previous experience and you narrate that in such a way that that becomes relevant and relatable for the HR. So whatever experience you had, if that can be quoted in front of the HR, that can make you suitable for that role. So it would be wonderful.
Great. I think that answers. Maybe one more question that would be so let's say there is a person in interview, and most of the time he or she would be going ahead with what exactly it is present in a resume and delivering those things or telling about those things, right? So one question arises like, is it fine faking something in an interview, or else is it fine if they go here and there, like let's say it might be related to skills, or it might be related to a project that they have handled, they had given their 100% in that or not. So is it fine if they moderate it or tweak it to an extent?
So, faking it is something which I would say no. Reason being, the reason is that the interviewers who are sitting in front of you, first of all, the company selects only those people who have a very good amount of experience before actually sitting there as your interviewer. So they will very clearly be able to understand that you do not have knowledge of this skill which you have mentioned in your resume. Say for example, I say that I have a knowledge of C++. If they ask you a question just by merely asking a question about that particular technology or that particular point or criteria area, they will be able to figure out, because the jargons that you use, the words that you use, the confidence that you exhibit while answering that question, they will be able to very clearly identify that you are faking it. You do not actually have the knowledge, and it will set a very negative or bad impression on the interviewer, and it will reduce your chances of being selected or shortlisted, and of them moving you forward for the next round. So faking anything on the resume is a big no. Secondly, you said that we can tweak, the things a bit. So I would say yes, it is, I think, a valid point and sometimes required, because there are certain roles which might be too over optimistic for us. But it is, I would say, worth giving them a shot. Let me tell you a simple, an example. So it might be that certain people who do not have any prior experience, say any developer who do not have a prior experience of management, but they are, they are willing and committed to brush up their skills and to go to or transition to the management. So this is a scenario, right? So now what they want to do, now the management does not want anybody who knows programming. They want somebody who can lead the team, or who can have a great hold of cross team collaborations, and who can make the roadmaps and things like that. Now you want to use your current experience, and you want to narrate it in such a way that it does not exhibit your technical skills, but it exhibits how well you can handle people. So you will have to tweak the story a bit. Instead of just saying that I wrote the code while working on this project, you would want to write it like there was a team of 5 people and I used to be the scrum master there. So I handled and cleared the blockers that were there of those people, instead of just saying I coded in C++. So this is how you can tweak your experience a bit based on the job description that is put forth for that particular role. But faking is a bit no, is a completely no.
Great. I believe audience whoever had a thought that can we tweak or else can we fake about whatever the projects or something. I think you got a better clarity on this. Never fake in an interview, because at the end you'll be working in that particular organization. They will figure out in any ways, right? So that is one part. And before we end the session, a final question, which is a common asked question, like what is the expectation, what is your expectation right, in terms of salary or in terms of pay. So if it is lesser than the what you say industry standards, or if it is greater than the industry standards, what should be the approach that an interviewer, when a question arises, what should be the answer, or what kind of thing that they can keep in the mind?
Right, right. So this is a very important question. Definitely, we would want our salaries to be in par, or to be at par with the industry. So first of all, you need to prioritize what. Why are you actually prioritize the points and your purpose of changing the role. You know, if that is just for the fact that you want to work on a certain technology and you are more interested in learning that technology, and this company that you are applying for offers that, so above your compensation you are more interested in the technology, so you might think a less about the compensation part. But if there is something that compensation is your priority one and you are changing because your compensation is not what you believe should be, so I would say you clearly put forth that intent in front of the HR, and you clearly say, you do the well research of the role, and on the Glassdoor there is website wherein the salary range of every role are displayed clearly. So you need to first of all do a thorough research of the role that you are applying for. Secondly, you think deeply about the fact where you stand there, right? And the HRs initially will be paying you, they will start from very lower end, and they would want to invest you at a very lower end. Of course they would want to cut off their expenses and things like that, but at the very same time you will be since you have crossed all the rounds, since you have cleared all the rounds and you are an eligible candidate, so you need to back what you are asking for, by facts and numbers, that you can be valuable in certain such and such way to the team, and you are the best candidate for this particular role, and you can clearly mention that this salary would be a bit lower for me, and I would expect 30% of the hike, and from my previous salary, because things like that. So you can clearly express your intention backed with the logic, and backed with the numbers and facts and figures that you have in mind, and also make sure that while negotiating on the compensation part, you also have this number in mind. Say for example, generally what the companies do, there is this company X and I am working here currently, okay, a person A is currently working here, so they are given certain shares, they will be vested in this next year or so and so time. So for the next financial year, whatever is your worth, say currently you are earning 5 lakhs of rupees, and next year when these shares will be vested and certain this you will be getting somewhere around an average of 5% average increment as well, and then your total compensation will be, say for example, 8 lakhs of rupees next year, next financial year. So instead of saying that my current compensation right now is 5 LPA, you should say that next year I am expecting a compensation of 8 LPA because my shares will be vested and things like that. And also tell your worth, what you will be bringing to the company, what kind of varied, rich experience that you will be bringing to the company, and say that I expect my compensation to be somewhere around 9-10. Reasonable enough, but also backed with the logic and numbers.
Okay, great. I believe that I've answered related to the compensation related or salary related questions, right? So guys, just keep in your mind that what is your net worth, get a better understanding of that, and will you serve the purpose or not? That is definitely HR will figure out after your interview. So
Right.
all the best
Just
on that. Yeah, Nidhi, please.
Right. Just adding one more point. Do not, I've seen a lot of people who shy away from, talking about the salary negotiation. It is, I would say, your right to, get the, amount or the compensation that you are worth of. So, it's not actually fighting. It's not you are fighting with the HR. You are actually asking for what you are worth of. You have worked tremendously hard to be in that role, to be worthy of that role, to sit there and to do the work that you will be given. So you will be bringing a quality to the company and quality to the work. The company will be generating revenue out of your works, so you are worth it. So do not be at all ashamed in asking for what you are worth of.
Definitely. So, anyways, the company will pull out the things that they were planned to take it out from you, right? So,
Right,
definitely
right.
don't be ashamed of it. And if you are worth of that particular amount, go for it. And
Right,
that's all. So, I think
right.
that brings to the end of the session. Nidhi, thank you so much for your time. That was a
Pleasure,
great
pleasure.
session, right? I believe all the viewers had better understanding how to exactly prepare for an interview and what kind of questions they can expect, what kind of answers that they can prepare themselves with, right? So all those things had been answered. And viewers, again, you can definitely check out Nidhi Sharma's LinkedIn handle. She provides similar kind of content, and recently she had been selected as a LinkedIn creator also. A huge round of applause, Nidhi, on that,
Thank you
and
very much.
congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
yeah, guys, so definitely check our previous webinar videos also from Nidhi Sharma. She had already given a talk on how to create a resume and how to crack product based companies. So that will definitely help you out. And in future, we'll definitely come up with similar kind of topics, what exactly that you are looking for. And if there is any inconvenience in terms of audio lags or something in between, I'm from deep of my heart, I'm apologizing on that. I think it will be what you say made better in terms of video uploadation once it is there in YouTube. Okay, so don't worry on that part, and we'll definitely try to impress you with these kind of talks in the future. So that's all from my end. Nidhi, if anything that you want to add for the viewers, you can definitely go for it.
Sure. I would say, I mean, since we had today's talk was basically based on answering the behavioral and HR questions, so I would suggest that whatever experience you have and whatever kind of projects that you had, done previously, so make sure that before actually going ahead and before sitting and facing the interviewer's question, I would say keep your stories ready in your head and make sure to use the methods that we discussed, be it the car method for making the resume or the star method for answering those behavioral questions, things like that. But it would be better that you well collect your thought before actually answering those questions, because it will help you execute well in front of the interviewer, and you will be able to impress them with your experience and with your accomplishments. And do not be modest again, I would say, in clearly highlighting your accomplishments, because unless you tell interviewer clearly that you were promoted because of this reason, they will never be able to know about that particular thing. So make sure that you highlight all your skills and you be confident while answering all those questions. All the very best, and thank you very much for attending the session.
Thank you, Nidhi. I believe they have kept all these things in their head. And thank you so much again, Nidhi, for sparing your time and for giving
Pleasure.
regular talks with Verzeo. Thank you so much.
It was wonderful pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity. I loved, preparing these sessions and giving these talks to the viewers. I hope it helped. So thank you.
Thank you again, Nidhi. Viewers, I think I have already added the attendance form in the chat. You can utilize that, and I'll be adding Nidhi Sharma's LinkedIn handle also. You can check her out over there, and you can view the contents that has been already added, which might be useful for you in the future. And that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for sparing your 1 hour of time and viewing the particular video. And I believe it had helped you out. And we'll see you soon. And just a disclaimer for the next webinar, we'll be having a webinar from Jonathan Powers related to mechanical engineering. Whoever is watching this video who is from mechanical background, I believe you will be receiving a particular series that will help you out. And Jonathan Power is from Tesla. I think he'll give you a better insights on the industry part and the skills that you will be working on. So, yep, that's all, guys. Thank you so much. happy speaking to you. And attendance form is already there in the chat. You can utilize it. Once again, stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe to channel, and you can stay tuned to the videos that is coming in the future. That's all from my end. It's Ajay Villa signing off.
Thank you. Visit Verzeo.com, subscribe to our channel to know more. Thank you. Visit Verzeo.com, subscribe to our channel to know more. Thank you. Visit Verzeo.com, subscribe to our channel to know more. Thank you. Visit Verzeo.com, subscribe